Revenge trading. Maybe you heard of this term, maybe you haven't. Either way, it's a very, very important concept that within your own trading strategy, you need to be aware of. So let's break it down. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before, definitely on the podcast that I have, but I don't know if I have a video on it, but I want to make sure, even if I do, it's a concept that should be definitely repeated and have multiple videos on it. The idea for this one actually came from a YouTube exchange that I had with somebody. So let's start off there. And as I read through the exchange, ask yourself, do you see where the revenge trading is happening? If you do, awesome. I would say that as far as your kind of understanding of this is concerned, you have a good grasp on it. Now, are you implying it and actually following through with it? That may be a different question, but at least your understanding is there. If I read through this exchange and you have no idea what I'm talking about, you don't see anything wrong, you don't necessarily, just take a note of what you think the revenge trading is, and that'll kind of be a good little mile marker in terms of where do you personally stand in your understanding of, again, this very vital concept. So let's get through this YouTube exchange. So Alexander says, slowly recovering my losses and have found some consistency. Having said that, this strategy I would not be able to do. My entries have to be really good or else I stop out. I think you could have waited a little longer before you went in shorting, in my view. I replied back, well, in hindsight, everything could have been better. They replied back, true, but I feel like you could see it had a ton of momentum there. I shorted NVDA today on accident and took a big loss, and then shorted with 4 times the position size and made back all my losses and ended green. Trading from my laptop on Wi-Fi leads to disasters to me. A lot of that had nothing to do with the concept of revenge trading, but I wanted to try to make it difficult, throw just a bunch of dialogue at you, and that way you really have a good kind of test to see where you stand in regards to this. So I want to kind of just quickly go through what this person said in regards to NVIDIA. So NVDA was a ticker symbol. And what did they say? So they made a trade, right? And this is definitely, the logic sequence that you need to be aware of. So they made a trade, and then what happened? Well, they took a loss on it, right? They then took a loss. Now, the big thing here is why they took the loss doesn't really have anything to do with revenge trading. It can in the sense of where maybe it's going to potentially motivate you to do a revenge trade, but it may not. But the point here is that they took a loss. Because revenge trading, there's nothing to, think about the word revenge. You don't need to get revenge on anything if that was a winning trade. So that's how, the early stages of a revenge trade could potentially happen is, and I realize I'm stating the obvious here, is you make a trade and you take a loss. Now in this person's case, this loss came from a mistake. So maybe in this person's psychology, because it was a loss from a mistake, it could potentially lead to more revenge. Or in some cases, it's just a loss, no matter what the cause, can open the door for revenge, which can be the case for most of the time. So now what happens here? And this is where, you're understanding. What happens? What was their solution to this? Well, the way you need to apply it, and always just ask yourself is, when you take a losing trade, ask yourself right away, right there, is what I'm about to do normal? Now, how do you define normal? That depends on your strategy. If you're sitting there saying, well, I don't even know what normal within my strategy is, that's a sign that you don't even really have a strategy if you can't even define a baseline of normal. So what is your normal? Again, that's a very pressing issue here for you to kind of run a self-audit on yourself. And if you're sitting there saying, well, yeah, I have a strategy, but what is actually normal for I don't know what normal, then you don't have a strategy. Now, if you're saying, oh yeah, I know what normal is, I should be doing this, that, and the other, that would be my baseline, that would define normal. Now, in some cases, maybe normal can shift. So that leads to the question, well, how can it shift? What is a normal shift away from normal? The point is, you need to have baselines within your strategy. You need to understand how to be able to define normal. So that's the immediate thing you need to ask yourself is, you have a trade, you take a loss, and then you're taking some sort of action. Or in other words, try to keep this color-coded, your next trade. Your next trade, you better be asking, is this normal? let's circle back to the comment that we had in regards to this person. What did this person's action for their next trade? What did they do? They said what? They traded 4 times the size that they normally do. Is 4 times the size what this person normally does? Doesn't sound like it at all. Therefore, total revenge trade. Now in this case, did it work out? Yeah, they said they got back all their losses and then actually put them in the green. So on the surface, that's great. It worked out. They upped their size, but that's the only reason they upped their size was because they were irritated because they took a loss. And what that is doing is building a terrible habit. Yes, it worked out here. I'll acknowledge that again. But as far as the habit is concerned, one of these times they're gonna break away from normal. They're gonna do something out of revenge, and it's gonna create that much bigger of a hole. And that's what revenge trading is if you are varying, if you are going away and doing something different than what you would normally do as far as a trade, and this is happening after a loss, you are revenge trading. Now it could be after a win too. So this could be a whole separate video, but if you win and then you're asking yourself, what do I normally do? And you notice that you're doing something not normal, that wouldn't be revenge trading. That'd be kind of ego trading, probably overconfidence trading. But that's like, so maybe I'll make another video on that. But as far as revenge trading, if after a loss, assuming you know how to define normal, find yourself doing something that's not normal, yeah, you are revenge trading. You are breaking away from what your strategy is. And just to really reiterate, this is why, I get it, it's a soundbite to say, having a strategy is important. Okay, yeah, that's a great soundbite. Of course, having a strategy is important, but why? Here is a why having a strategy, because when you have a true strategy, you have normal as a part of it. When you have normal as a part of a strategy, when you have those baselines, you can quickly gauge and kind of hold yourself accountable to, am I revenge trading right now? Now, if this person takes a loss and they go on and they take action with their next trade and they're saying, yeah, this is still normal. My position size is still normal. I'm still trading a setup that I would normally trade, then you know what, you're fine. That's not revenge trading at all. That's just moving on to the next trade. But if you're doing something that's not normal, you are revenge trading. And even if it works out, that's a terrible habit. And eventually it'll come back and bite you for sure. I'm speaking from experience. If you are out there trading alone currently and maybe are in the market looking for a community to join to assist you in your trading or to just help you, give you another set of eyeballs, then I do have a private trading community where you can trade alongside me and other experienced traders. So what you see popping up on the screen right now is both an information link. So if you click on the inner circle one, that is going to take you to the page where I explain all the details of what exactly come with the community, both the chat room and the newsletter. And then the other image that has popped up is a behind the scenes tour where you can see exactly what is going to be contained within the community. I take you through, like I said, a behind the scenes tour of everything, and that way you'll know precisely what you are getting when you join. So definitely check that stuff out if you are interested and thinking about wanting to join a community, and let me know if you have any questions.